Invincible Season 2 is out, and now it's gone, as it pulled an Omni-Man and left to go get milk after not finishing us. That's right, we won't get the last 4 episodes till 2024, which is frustrating, since the series basically just now started to get good. There's some pretty decent reasons for that, but there are some pretty understandable reasons for that. And a lot of y'all need to calm down over it. No, what I'm a little bit more annoyed about is how this season's release schedule is highlighting the show's weaknesses rather than its strengths. And that's kind of what I've been wanting to talk about, as I've been liking this season so far, but how we consume media can be just as important as the media itself. So, for the sake of my sanity, I want to just break down my thoughts on how Invincible is getting screwed by the suits, and none of it is the animator's fault. Plus my general thoughts on just the season so far.
Sometimes things are the way they are for a good fucking reason.
That can't be it. Where's the rest of it?
So, just general opinion on season 2. Shit's been good. I've always loved this show. Its ability to feel like a throwback to the DC animated universe while still being its own mature thing. It's just been a combination that I have always adored. It's able to be just edgy enough that it's, okay, we're a little dark here, but it never goes so far that it feels like, okay, now you're just being out of pocket and just trying too hard. No, while Invincible does a lot of yes and explain like, okay, if you lived in a world of superheroes, this probably would happen, it never goes that extra mileage to be like too dark or take away from the obvious love that the series has for the superhero genre. So with that excitement, I was over the moon waiting for season 2 to come out. And when I got the premiere, honestly, I loved it. As while it wasn't a complete banger, after the massive catastrophe that was Omni-Man versus Invincible, yeah, I think we need a depressed breather before like jumping into the crazy stuff to establish a new status quo and give us an idea of what we're in for going forward. Though hindsight does make me feel like something is missing, but I'll rant about that in a second. But overall, I do really like the first 3 episodes. It feels like we're watching a story in the state of transition. Mark is struggling to be a hero again in the aftermath of his dad. Everyone is going off to college. Debbie has no idea how to cope. The Guardians are facing shakeups just everywhere, and Eve's new lifestyle hits a snag and now she's questioning herself. All these things on their own are interesting. It's very cathartic to watch Mark be unsure of just how not to be his dad and ties himself up to his new work daddy, only for his attempts to have some restraint falling apart as he often chooses to be good rather than to follow orders. However, this first half of the season is very episodic. That's not a bad thing, but it's also not a great one. I feel like for the first 3 episodes, we never really know exactly where we're going yet. So while there is stuff happening, we don't really have that sense of anticipation as we don't know what we're building to. So for me, even though I love all the superhero antics, it's why Debbie's arc about going through grief and like just processing everything that's happened with Nolan is the true standout early on. We see the ups and downs of her processing Nolan's betrayal and all the baggage that comes with it, doubting everything that they went through and how she may have wasted her life on a man who considered her a pet. Debbie is killing it this season. I honestly get more out of her scenes than Mark's more often than not. And I feel like that process tracks for most of the season. While I like a lot of what's going on, it does feel like it's on cruise control till episode 4. And the reason why I feel like it is just a little lukewarm, it's not having that, this is why I need to tune into this show every week. I think the thing that's missing is the hook. This is by far my biggest issue. This season, it's good, but shit doesn't really start to happen till episode 4. Now on one hand, I get it. Omni-Man almost turned his son back into a liquid, a lot of people died, no one is handling it well. But while that kind of life-shattering realization is valid, to take some time and unpack all of that, the show does feel like it's very much banking on us already being invested in the series, so it's allowing itself to take things slower, when it maybe needs to put its foot on the gas just a little bit more, or just tease what's coming next earlier on. It's a little bit of just trust me bro, and while I do trust the writers, I would like just a little bit more of a hint to what direction we're actually going. As this season, it fails to set up an effective hook, which is kind of annoying as the first season had one of the best fucking hooks in recent memory. Starting its first episode as a solid but not wow-inducing introduction to Mark, who is now in the process of becoming a superhero. but it's only when you watch Omni-Man, the supposed hero, paint the walls with this series' Justice League does it really lock us into the story. This shit was crazy, and even if you didn't care for Mark, you were left desperately wanting to know just all about this. Did Omni-Man do it willingly? Why did he do it? What will his family do when they find out, and how will they react? The show created a great mystery that, even though we kind of know the answer, it still served as a time bomb that would destroy the status quo of the show once it went off, leaving us all waiting for that bomb to drop and leaving us watching everyone else in the show just inch closer to that reveal. This is the thing that allowed Invincible to have mostly episodic episodes for most of the series. Small stuff was being built up, Mark filling out his hospital punch card, but those little hints of what Omni-Man's deal is, and how close the truth was to being uncovered, is what hooked us and kept us on edge even during the more low-key episodes. Season 2 doesn't have that, like not in the slightest. The first episodes are fun, don't get me wrong, but while it's nice to see Mark get back in the game, touch base with everyone else in the world, most of it does feel like setup for things that are meant to come later. But while that's cool, we don't really know what's gonna happen, and worst of all, the characters don't know about it. Angstrom's ugly face felt like he was being set up to be the season's big bad, or at least a major player, but then he kind of just fucks off after his villain origin story. He showed up in a teaser in the second episode, but after that, it's just been silence. But in spite of all of his backstory, he still does feel very villain of the week, so I don't really have that much of a reason to be invested in him doing anything. He's a tragic monster who blew himself up and got corrupted by the one version of himself who was a hater. While there's a ton of great stuff that could be done with him, right now it's just a game of wait and see, as we don't really know what's gonna happen or how things are gonna play out. It's not really a compelling mystery that drives the story forward, which is also the same thing with Viltrum till the literal midpoint of the season, where it's only here in episode 4 do we really understand the stakes, and now I have something like, oh no, this is gonna fuck everyone up. As Nolan's been kidnapped, Mark has to either subjugate Earth or rescue his father and fight any Viltrumite that comes for them, not to mention have to explain to his mother that the baby isn't his. We now have stakes, we have intrigue, but now the show's on break, so screw us. Though to be clear, this won't be a problem when we have the full season. The first half, yeah, it's kind of on cruise control, but things are definitely gonna kick into high gear soon. However, even with that said, the season does feel a bit too slice of life even with that context, and there isn't enough underlying dread to make it feel like the calm before the storm, nor is it really happy enough to make it feel nostalgic before shit truly hits the fan. I'm liking the season, but it's not giving me something to really sink my teeth into besides the Debbie subplot. However, that is a minor gripe, but with how the show's being released, what would have stayed a minor gripe in the grand scheme of things suddenly now feels like a real issue, as this is all we got. And this release schedule does feel, how do I put this? Stupid. And I 100,000% blame upper management. The animators and all the people working on this show, they don't get paid enough to get nagged over shit they don't have control over. Invincible, for all its success, it still kind of feels like an afterthought to a lot of Amazon's marketing. They spend 20 times more on marketing The Boys than they do this show, when honestly Invincible deserves all the money in the world and not wasting time on a live action movie of it. Like low-key, this whole release feels like a dumb synergy thing. Like somebody had the glorious idea that they should drop Invincible Season 2 the same day as the finale for Gen V, or more accurately, the Homelander cameo. Then that would get people jazzed, so they'll trickle down to watching Invincible. It does feel kinda dumb and is now feeling suspect, as there are hints from a broken Fire Stick apparently that Invincible is gonna come out in January, 1 month from now. Which feels weird and confusing and calls into question the thing that actually annoys me. Like, why couldn't they just delay the series like a month? Like, I'm of the opinion that the people working on the show should be given as much time as they need to actually finish the thing. Else you run the risk of burnout, crunch time, and all the other nastiness that comes when a production refuses to budge on a release date that is set for reasons not linked to the actual production cycle of the show. Invincible can take a month off, that's fine. I'm not gonna deny the weirdness of a show taking a month off after 4 episodes with only the show now hyping up the fans, and this is especially egregious for Invincible, as this show benefited so much from being week to week. Invincible is a show that benefited so much from being week to week. Yeah, the first episode, people loved it, but people didn't go crazy. It wasn't huge yet. But by releasing episodes consistently, it was able to build its audience, to create hype each week and get people to jump in and catch up, till the finale happened, and it had officially become a sensation. Invincible Season 2, in contrast, is basically getting its hype kneecapped, and I've talked with other creators about this. Nobody was really talking about the premiere. This show had a massive fan base. They got Omni-Man into Mortal Kombat, and nobody was talking about it or even watching the videos on it. So while Amazon was trying to brag how the Season 2 premiere had 3 times as many views as the first season premiere, that honestly feels like more of a diss to Season 1 than it is a W for Season 2. This season was building hype, people realizing that it was finally back on air, it was trending, and now it's gone. So when it comes out again, people have to re-remember that it exists, get into a habit of watching it again, and that just is so frustrating, as this show is just getting fire, and suddenly we're just gone again. And this isn't a case of like something long like Owl House, where they have 20 episodes in total, and you get 10 episodes apiece before they go on a mid-season break. This is 4. It was around for less than a month, and now people have to jump back in again later. This whole situation just feels weird to me. It's been good, but now it feels like we're gonna have to restart this whole process all over again in a month or so, which is frustrating. This show is definitely gonna stick the landing, the wait isn't too long, and holy shit that last episode. Holy shit that last episode.
You gotta be...
Seeing Mark hug his dad after everything that's happened, only to be mad, only to be more bad when he found out his dad got freaky with a bug and made another kid, it's really good. It's also really funny to me how Mark's brother looks more like him than their father. Like, we knew Nolan's genes were dominant, but this is crazy. It was great seeing Mark cave as he realizes even if he doesn't like his dad, and it's complicated, he will do anything to help people. And Omni-Man's lonely journey through the galaxy as he struggles with what to do with himself, which also mirrors Debbie's own soul searching, that desire to find purpose after losing what they thought was their whole reason for existing. With the show visually conveying on how they dabbled with the idea of maybe potentially not being here anymore, with them ultimately sticking around just long enough to find a new sense of purpose. Omni-Man with his fresh start, and Debbie recognizing that for all the lies Nolan told, she did a great job in raising Mark, and may have saved the world in the process. So while it may hurt, she'll always have that, so the last 20 years weren't a complete waste or a complete lie. I like but don't love Omni-Man finally coming into his humanity here, recognize that sentient life is valuable regardless of what they look like. I do like how quick this is because it does feel like something that Omni-Man has been on the cusp of acknowledging for most of the series, with his massacre in the finale being more about convincing himself that humans are insignificant than him trying to indoctrinate Mark. So after a few months and a reset followed by the only massacre he didn't cause, yeah, I do think that would be enough to get him there. It's not the most cathartic or impactful moment, but Mark's line here about how this is how he should have felt on Earth hits so hard that it makes up for almost everything. And the fight with the Viltrumites was brutal. I've been kind of disappointed that we haven't had anything close to the greatness that was Adam and Eve's fight. I think what we got here... great. It's a good display of the durability and just how monstrous the Viltrumites are, with Mark spending most of his fight getting his shit rocked, as he's the only guy here not going for the kill. Plus, he's not used to fighting people that can actually take his full strength. Or at least people who will fight back and not just immediately wipe the floor with him. The Viltrumites, they were all brutal, and the show does a great job just making you think that, yeah, the only way to stop these guys is to kill them, else they will come back. This sets up a nightmare scenario for Mark, as Viltrum gave him his father's mission, which we know he's not gonna follow through on this. Doesn't matter how many multiverse timelines it shows, this Mark is a true hero. He's not gonna kill a bunch of people just so someone else can go and conquer them. With Viltrum potentially coming back and Mark having to fight them, and his dad isn't around to do the dirty work for him, it begs the question of, do you guys think that Mark is capable of killing? I know there's a huge stigma against this for superheroes like Superman or Batman, but while there's a definite character reasons for them to be against it, for a show like this, while it's not great for a paragon like Mark, I can definitely see him go through with it to stop the bad guys. He's accidentally or been used to unalive people before, so he is painfully aware of the consequences and the stakes of failure. I can see him go through with it, though I don't think he'll ever get used to it or be really liberal with its use. Some villain on the street, yeah, he'll bring him to jail. But when he has a world ender like the Viltrumites, it does feel like death is the only real solution outside of some dream dream scenario where they can capture them. It's interesting and fascinating, and I'm curious to see how far they'll take this. Also, shout out to Eve. She's going through it. Not sure where her story is going, but curious to see it play out, as she thought she was on top of the world, and now consequences are coming to get her. Though I do hope they speed up her and Mark hooking up.
Donald, where the hell are you? We've got a situation.
Also, I don't really care about Donald, but I am fascinated to know what's going on with him. I don't know if he's one of these corpse soldiers, a clone, a robot, or some kind of Mark Donald hybrid Cecil's been cooking up. We're gonna find out, and I am curious for it. Overall, loving the show. The lack of a major mystery or hook in the general episodic adventures of this early season does make it feel like the release schedule for this season kind of just the worst thing they could have done. Like season 1, they may have been able to get away with this, but after seeing how much season 1 benefited from just week to week till it was done, it's frustrating to see them do this show dirty like it is. Though if that's what the animators need, that's what they need. If people are getting mad, they should be mad at the company, not the people making it. And that speaks to the greater need for those who actually work on the product to have more of a say on when these shows actually start airing. Just look at what happened to Mappa. And I'm fully confident that while it may have started just a little bit slow, it is going to have a banger finale. The finale for this show is going to be insane, so we just gotta hold our breath and wait to see things play out, then resent everyone who binged this show as they just had it so easy versus the week-to-week crowd. I know, this is a me problem, and I accept that. But tell me what you all thought of Invincible so far. Are you loving it? Is it just okay? If you know what's going to happen in the comics, keep those secrets to yourself. The anime onlys are trying to enjoy the show in peace. Also, remember to like, share, and subscribe, as that's a thing. It doesn't really matter cause algorithm, but it does make me feel nice. So if you would be so kind, love you all, peace out.